There's a new ad that's been playing nonstop in the state of Texas from Ted Cruz, and I just want you to take a gander at it, and then let me get your reaction here.
Keep your eye on the ball. Ready? Okay, that's okay. Concentrate.
Texas girls are tough,
You got this. Let's do it again.
but they're facing a new opponent they can't beat by digging deeper. Colin Allred could have stopped men from competing in women's sports, but instead, he voted against our daughters.
Man, I think you missed
What kind
this
of
ending
man
here.
does that?
Truth and Courage.
Put that up
What
for you.
kind of man does that?
Did I miss the reveal?
Truth and Courage package.
Yeah, the review.
Men from competing in women's sports, but instead, he voted against our daughters. What kind of man does that?
So for
Truth
for
and Courage
those-
pack is responsible for the content
for
of
those
this advertising.
listening, it makes it seem as if Colin Allred, who for people who don't know is a linebacker in the NFL, just ran onto the powder puff game and tackled a teenage girl.
An actual legit NFL athlete. Make it seem like what? He's a trans person playing girl sports. It's interesting how none of these, like if you look at say folkshealth.com, which is LGBTQ plus key findings: 1 in 5 lost access to healthcare in the past year as a result of anti-LGBTQ policies and laws. The impact is even greater with Republican-leaning states, where 27% are affected compared to 12% Dem-leaning states. 58% of this is for trans folks specifically considering move to a different state due to anti-LGBTQ policies. 95% experience negative health impacts, including like an average of 7 maybe to 10 more bad mental health days per month. Those are real sort of things that are measurable through surveys. And this whole idea that there's a widespread fraud going on in girls' athletics is so hysterical that it's almost shocking that it's got the emphasis that it does in modern politics.
Well, I mean, beyond just that whole debate and their fixation of it, the ad itself is a bad one because it makes the issue almost like a boogeyman, like far fetched kind of thing, right? Because if like the end of the story is that Colin Allred is about to body slam your girl when they're playing flag football, which by the way, no one's allowed to tackle in the first place, but there's a whole other conversation, right? It makes it seem correctly, by the way, like these fears are not reality based and instead of severe anxieties of mentally deranged people, quote unquote Republicans. Now, the other thing is this.
Well, sorry, but that's that thing with the documentary that the Daily Wire made about the man. What is I can't remember what it's called. The basketball one, where Ben Shapiro admitted that actually this couldn't happen in real life, even remotely. It's completely implausible. And also, by the way, the idea that boys are suited for, which is one of the messages in the film, that boys are suited toward a rough and tumble lifestyle, and that sort of thing. Ben Shapiro is the caretaker for his child, and his wife is like a doctor or something. So it's funny to like put messages in a movie that directly contradict your I guess very modern lifestyle. But
well, the other thing is that this is a niche concern of guys who spend way too much time on the computer and are influenced by guys who work at the Daily Wire. Now, don't get me wrong, there's plenty of people in the state of Texas who fit that category, but that's not the vast majority of even Republican voters in the state. So my advice to the Ted Cruz campaign is definitely keep spending millions of dollars doing those kind of ads because I'm sure that they're really resonating with folks out there.
I mean that they ran. First of all, 2022, their midterms, which midterms typically, after there's been a change in the presidency, lean towards the opposition party. They thought they were going to have a red wave. It based in large part running on this sort of dumb bullshit. and it didn't win anywhere. I mean, and a lot part of that is because it turns out that real things like women's reproductive health care
Yeah, yeah.
is a more urgent concern than this fantasy that that men are going under cover of night to get on varsity girls basketball teams.
Well, the thing again that's so delusional about this too is that like Republicans in the state of Texas have been showing signs of competency in picking up voters that they don't traditionally win, particularly the Hispanic vote in the state of Texas. But what has been resonating with the Hispanic vote in the state of Texas are things like border stuff and also economics, right? Things cost too much. Let's make the economy work better for folks, right? You talk about how BS it is, whatever. It's a message that has been working. And if you think that it's BS that people might vote for the Republicans because they think that your focus should be why are the Democrats so terrible at messaging and running and delivering on these kind of things that Republicans can just sort of mime and point at a couple things and pick up those kind of voters. But the point is that like Republicans like have the potential of maybe even picking up and growing those margins in Texas and in other places, right? Um, and the hope would be that instead of taking those kind of messages that seem to have been working for them, they just really hyper fixate on this super online kind of fantasy politics like this commercial.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing is like with the Democrats and like certain uh, constituencies that they've had vote for them like 9-1, 8-2, 7-3. It's like at a certain point, if you aren't delivering for those people,
Mhm.
you're going to lose some of that to like basically nihilism.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
like Trump is the perfect person to play to that sort of element.
Mm,
I'm anxious to see how that plays off with somebody besides Trump. People always say like the worst thing is like a Holly that has, but like the problem is like I feel like Trump is the guy they need.
mhm.
I'd wonder if a actual like institutional Republican could ever have that sauce, and if they do, I mean, I think that might be a better bet than Democrats getting their shit together. So it's a horrifying thing to think about.